Hey y'all, Seth with Swell Van Company here. Today we are going to be putting together some transit upper cabinets. So why don't we take a look at what tools we are going to use today. You're definitely going to need just a regular Phillips screwdriver. And then we have some liquid nails, general adhesive. That's going to be optional. You don't have to necessarily glue the cabinet together, but we always do. We think it's one extra step that's going to make it that much more strong. Yeah, just a general construction adhesive works well. And then we have two tools here that we sometimes use. Depending on how the cabinet's going to go together, you may need the assistance of a clamp or a mallet. If you have like a softer mallet, that will work well. So your kit's going to come with all the hardware needed. You're going to get your two hinges. These are a lift-up type of hinge. They work really well with a spring. It's nice and adjustable. And so you've got one for each side. The instructions you won't need. And then we have our cabinet latch. It's a push and twist to open style. Works pretty well, keeps it nice and secure. The keeper and ring. So that should come all together like that. It's this nice Southco latch. And then we've got our screw types and some shelf pins, because this upper does have an adjustable shelf you can put at different levels. Let's look at our parts here. You are going to have some labels on your part, on your cabinet that is, and they're going to have a number that shows you that they're all part of the same cabinet, and they're going to have a label to declare what part name that is. And when we are assembling these cabinets, we are going to assemble them with lock dowels. So you have some slots here, and each one of those slots is going to receive another part where we have our lock dowel connectors made of aluminum. Those are really awesome because they are just going to slide into those slots and lock in place. And we're going to put some glue to keep them there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and find our left side. It's going to be my left and our right side. And then I know these are our stretchers. This is the back stretcher. And the top stretcher. Our adjustable shelf, you can see there it's got the pins, the locations where it's going to sit on those pins. The pins have like a nice rubber to them so it doesn't rattle at all, which is great. And then we have our bottom. So this is a good place to start with. And the front, you can tell it's the front because it's got our latch hole there. So no particular way to start here. Just check that all the numbers are the same, looking at the same cabinet, and then I'm going to orient this to where I know it is the side of the cabinet. I know that because this is our wire chase in the back, and I can see here that this is the pre-drilled screw locations for my keeper. So I know that I'm looking at the front of the cabinet because that's where the keeper here is going to go and close the cabinet. And then you can also tell by looking at my lock dowels, right? I only have 3 here on the bottom, and the stretchers have 2. So there's one for the back and one for the rear. So I'm going to start, of course, by kind of getting these parts situated. You can either do it as I'm doing here and kind of line it up, or you can put this down and slide it in like that, and sometimes that's a little bit easier way, but you have to be kind of careful because it might be a heavy part and might lever out a little bit. So either way you go, I'm going to get just a little bit of construction adhesive sort of primed in there. Okay, and then where I like to put my glue is just inside that slot, because our lock dowel is going to sit and lock into place in this portion of the slot. It enters here and slides in. So when I put some adhesive, doesn't have to be a ton. That was a little bit more than I usually do, but that works too. just at the front of that locking portion of the slot. Then I know that when I put this together here, I kind of like to do it this way. Gonna give it a push. There we go. Then I can just kind of get it started. And sometimes, depending on the cabinet, this might be a little bit easier to push in. Sometimes it might have a little more resistance. Honestly, it works either way. I'm just used to that amount of resistance, and so I can kind of get it pushed in until it's flush here at both edges, and then it's at the end of its travel in that slot. And I'll move on to the other side. Looks good. I know this is the front. I know it locks into place like that. So, repeat on this side with a little glue. It is optional, but like we said, we really like to do glue. We think that these lock valves are very strong and they'll hold on either way, but adding this extra step doesn't take much time. Okay, so with that, just gonna line these up again. Give it a little bit of a push. There we go. Ooh. Can kind of work its way loose on you sometimes. There we go. And it's helpful if you want to do it this way, you can just push from the front. Or now that I have it started, it's already started its way into that slot. I can also work with it like this. Just being careful, and I'm going to just push down now. You can hammer it in like this and just give it some nice firm taps. Okay, nice and flush. And I know that's going to be a secure connection in there. Okay, so go ahead and do our stretchers. We are going to want to put them in kind of at the same time, and then push them in together. So what you can tell is that this is the inside of the cabinet. This label is going to be the interior. And then the way this is going to go in, when it locks like that, this is the correct orientation. So this wider piece is towards the back of the cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly put the glue in all of our slots. So then when we come to this side, I'm just gently kind of peeling this side open a little bit so that I can get that in. Just gonna sort of make a connection there. And then I'm gonna work with the top stretcher and I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm just going to get that lined up, and then with this inserted, I'm gonna just kind of carefully and lightly open this up a little bit. Get that inserted, and with that I can just make some progress working down. There we go. Yep, and then same thing over here. Okay, feels nice and secure, and if I kept going I'd probably be just bumping up against the end of that lock valve's travel. Our last step then is to install our hardware, and you have two hinges with some hinge screws. They're going to be your larger diameter silver screws, and I can tell which way this is going to go because it's going to line up against the wall like that. And you can see there's some pre-existing hole locations for your screws there. And screw that into place on both sides. You can come back, of course, with this third hole and put a kind of set screw into that third location. when you have been able to adjust the hinges for this cabinet, ideally when it's installed. That way it's in the van, it's bolted in. If there's any sort of adjustment necessary, you can make it in place. That's ideally the best place to do that level of adjustment. So I'm just going to finish off with the other side. Let's see here. Now, for the rest of our cabinet assembly, we can work at it from the front here with these two screws in like this. Once we're in the van, again, I'm going to do this final adjustment with my latch and make sure it's grabbing on to the exact right portion of this. You've got some forward and backwards adjustment with your latch keeper. And then our compression ring here, I believe it has a side to it. Just need to twist this so I can insert that through the front, and then on the rear get the ring over, and I can stop twisting and start tightening it into place, trying to make sure it's nice and kind of square so that its little latch is going to grab on there. And I normally would also go ahead and, if you have just a little pair of pliers handy, just give that one little extra reef in there. So with these, the trick is to go ahead and insert them, I'd say like halfway. Get a good number of threads in there, but leave a little bit of space. And then what that is going to allow us to do is put these in these larger holes and then slide them down into the slots. It's definitely the easiest way to get your cabinet door on. So with that, I can open these up to get a little bit better access, and you can see for yourself. I'm just going to take these screws and kind of guide them down, get them lined up there. And now most of the time, these should just sort of fit right in, but you kind of have to watch both sides at the same time. And there we go. So then, kind of close this up, open my latch so that it goes in there. Perfect. And when I'm ready to install the cabinet, I will actually just go ahead and take that off. So I just wanted to show you how that goes, but when I'm going to install the cabinet, because I'm going to need better access to my mounting slots, I'm just going to do the opposite of that and show you how to take that out. I'll set that aside and put it back on. And then the last couple things here, we have our shelves. I'm also going to leave this off for install. I'll show you how that goes in. We have our 4 shelf pins. The plastics or rubbery side is what goes into these slots. I like it kind of in this middle position. I think that's the one that works best. But you can just take these pins out and put them to a different location if you like. So with that, I would then just insert our shelf in. It's got a little bit of room side to side, but it is kind of a nice and tight fit. And then it would rest down on the last thing to note with this cabinet, of course, is that we usually do these in pairs or a line of 4 across the van, depending on where you like to put it and how many you want in your particular van's layout. It's a little bit flexible, and that's the idea behind these slots, is you can kind of adjust it side to side a little as well. But your cabinet will come with these, what we call our barrel bolts. And as you can see on the side of the cabinet here, I've got 3 locations for the 3 barrel bolts and bolts I have. And what that means is I can go ahead and insert a barrel bolt on this side, and if I had an adjacent cabinet right next to it, I'd bolt that in here. And then these 2 things clamp down together, and keep that cabinet flush with one another, and more importantly, strengthen the cabinet and have multiple places across a set of upper cabinets where they can be mounted in. That's all there is to it, really. We have our cabinet assembled, and we're going to go ahead and show you how we're going to install this in the van. We're going to bring this with the other 3 cabinets we have assembled today, and we'll bolt them together and put them into our van for final install.